All right, welcome back. Let's continue now. Dancer, choreographer Gregory Maqoma is acclaimed for his profound influence on the dance community, both locally and internationally. As we know, he was born in Soweto, and his journey of dance began back in 1989, desiring an escape from the political strife that marked the era, specifically the oppressive environment of apartheid South Africa. So through movement, he sought not only personal freedom, but also means to articulate the rich culture as well as the history of his people. Having started his career as a dancer in Orlando, where he honed his skills and developed a unique style that blends various dance forms rooted in African traditions with contemporary dance aesthetics. In 1999, Maqoma founded the Vuyani Dance Theatre. It's a significant milestone that really showcased his dedication to nurturing and empowering young dancers. His work has garnered numerous awards and accolades, affirming his status as a cultural ambassador, and his legacy is one of resilience, creativity, and of course, transformative power of dance, echoing the struggles and aspirations of his roots in Soweto, whilst also inspiring new generations to find their voice through this art form. So on that note, acclaimed dancer Gregory Maqoma joins us this morning. Good morning. Thank you for your time at this hour. Thank you for your service to our country at large.
Thank you so much. Well, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Well, you've lived the story, you've encompassed it, and I know that it's had its ebbs and flows. But perhaps as we reflect back to where it all began and how you've managed to still stay grounded in your roots, hailing from Soweto, talk to us about how that would have all started for you and where you would have drawn the inspiration from, that vibrancy that could not be taken away.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it started in the township of Soweto in Orlando East.
Yes.
That's where I was born and raised, and I lived quite close to a hostel which housed migrant workers who were coming from different parts of Southern Africa, and over the weekends they will perform and compete amongst themselves in traditional forms. That was the starting point for me to really be drawn into dance. And at home we had a very small television screen, and Michael Jackson appeared, and I thought, wow, here's a man who's portrayed in such a positive manner as a black person, because at that time television was still also sensitized in terms of what we were seeing, and it was only about serving the white supremacy. And so it was so refreshing to see a black person being portrayed in such a positive manner. Yeah, and that was the beginning of me really going into dance.
Absolutely, and representation becomes so important, and you can see how that plays out given the influence that you've had on the dance fraternity at large. But before we get there, I want to look at dance as an escape form, but perhaps also a form of resistance to the socio-political constructs that were happening in and around you at the time.
I mean, growing up in Soweto, we were surrounded by smoke, smoke that was emanating from our houses, because during the winter period you had to prepare a coal in order to warm up our homes. So as if on cue, all the houses were surrounded by smoke. But it was also smoke that was coming from burning tires, burning buildings. This was the heart of apartheid South Africa. And that trauma really allowed me to find a space where I could channel it, where I could be able to sustain myself as a human being in order for me to survive the harsh realities of living in South Africa.
I'm thinking about that vibrancy, that eclecticness of the different cultures that would have, interacted in Soweto as well. That adds its own unique flavor. So talk to us about incorporating those elements in your offering, in your choreography, and really showcasing what Soweto, South Africa has to offer.
Exactly. I mean, Soweto is a stage by itself. And
Absolutely.
I say, it's as if Shakespeare was writing, living in Soweto, because you go through so many emotions. But you experience also such a cultural landscape, because there's dance, there's music, there's poetry, there's people writing and reading books. So it's a culmination of so many artistic forms. And I grew up with that, because my father will play music during over the weekends. On Sundays we'll know that we listen to jazz music, and that made an impact, had an influence on how I approach dance, So all of those things have a bearing, have an influence in terms of how the artistic output has become in my life.
Yes, and it finds its form or expressions in different forms as well, because then you take all of that energy and you start Vuyani Dance Theatre. Talk to us about what that came to symbolize for the community at large.
Sure. I mean, I was studying in Belgium, performing arts research and training studios. And it was an opportunity for me to see South Africa from the outside. Yes. And I wanted to be part of the changing artistic landscape. Yes. This was in 1999, and when I came back, I created Vuyani Dance Theatre as a space where many artists can come to, for us to have a playground or a space where we can tell our stories the way we want to tell them, the best way we can. But it was for every black child to know that they have a home where their artistic endeavors, their artistic dreams can be realized. And Vuyani Dance Theatre became that and continues to be that space where we have become a home for many young dancers who want to explore their own facility as the bodies as a facility for dance.
So what are those qualities that you look for in inviting, the dancers to come and perform? I mean, is rhythm something that's meant? Are you born with? Yeah. I mean, we have our own unique expression that takes shape, that adds to that vibrancy of that world stage at large.
Sure. I mean, I guess for me, it's more about humanity and talent. No, and I don't separate the two. And I think, once you've got those two together, you become a sensational artist. And I live with that. And when someone walks into a room and say they want to audition for a company, the first thing I ask is that what is it that you're bringing with? Yes. Because it's not just about taking, but we are interested also in your story. If you're coming from in the Eastern Cape, we want to make sure that story is heard. And it's important for you to hold on to that story as we are going through our training. Because,
I mean, there are tough elements as well. There's discipline. There's the journey, your own inertia that you also have to overcome. So talk to us about that in evolution you would have had to overcome in order to lead those under you.
I mean, firstly, it was to overcome my own family ambitions of me becoming a doctor, because that's what they wanted me to be a medical doctor. But I guess I'm a doctor in dance.
Absolutely, you're healing through the arts.
Exactly.
Yes.
So every time we have a family gathering, the question will always be like, okay, so what do you do? And when I say a dancer, they say, okay, what else? So you had to overcome that in order for you to ensure that your family knows that your chosen career is something that you're extremely passionate about and you committed to, and it had to be successful. And I guess it's the success that makes it to be so uniquely and in our family now, because it's my family that says we're coming to see your show before I can even invite them to come see. So that is one obstacle, but also the other obstacles is it's just society. At large, because people also have a certain kind of expectation of what a dancer should be or should look like, and what professional dancing actually mean. Because people still think that dancing is such an easy thing or an easy way to escape, but it takes a whole lot of dedication, hard work, in order for you to be at a level where you can hop on flights and perform at Sydney Opera or at any opera stages in the world.
Yes, and I mean, your body is your instrument, right? So taking proper care of it. I wonder if perceptions about that have shifted, though, over the years. I'm asking this because I want to know about how government itself is creating the necessary infrastructure to actually support the arts, given that it contributes to our GDP. But do you think enough is being done on that front to really honor that essence for us as a nation?
Yeah, I don't think enough has been done. I don't think there's really been a lot of thought in terms of what the creative sector is able to contribute in terms of our GDP. And at least the last time I checked, it was 1.7% of GDP that was coming from the creative sector, and that's a lot. I mean, it's even more than what mining is able to give in our country, and also it's employing much more than other sectors of our economy. So there should be a lot more focus in terms of what the creative sector is able to do, and that focus should not only be around money, should also be around policies. That they should be in place, policies that are going to allow the sector to thrive.
Yes, policy and change. Else it's open to abuse.
Yeah.
But perhaps as we look at, more regulatory frameworks, what are some of your highlights? What are some of your favorite moments that you've had? Is it fair to ask you that, Shem?
I was hoping you're not going to ask me that question because there's so many,
I can imagine,
But I guess, one of those things that's a great highlight, and we always talk about it, is the recognition I received from the French government with the Chevalier des Arts and Letters. And it's something that I'm always saying, I wish this was coming from my own government. Why should a foreign government give me such a high status while in my own country I have not been recognized at that level? And I'm not saying I'm not being recognized, I'm saying at that level of a president saying, I recognize you as a valuable artist in our own country. But there's been so many. But I think the most valuable for me recognition is having a company. Of Vuyani Dance Theatre, we're turning 25 years this year, and that's for me a remarkable thing to have a black dance company to stay and be on top of the game and be the leader in this industry.
Well, you've conquered our people's hearts because it's said that there are 2 days that matter: the day you're born and the day you earn your place amongst the people.
Yes.
And so 25 years later, that's an extraordinary feat. What can we expect then from here into as you reimagine this next chapter 25 years on?
Well, I think we're shaping the next 25 years already with Vuyani Dance Theatre. We're thinking about what the future should look like, and it's centered around children. I started writing books for young children because for me it was, we need to create inspirational stories for our own children because they are our future. Next week, we're having Sion Requiem of Ravel's Bolero, which has been an extreme success work internationally. It's coming to the Market Theatre from the 31st of October to the 3rd of November. I urge everybody to come see it because it is the best thing you would see in dance for the next decade.
Well, clearly you're going to take us to church. You're going to heal us. I'm
going to heal you. I'm going to take you to church. It's a collective grief.
Absolutely.
And we're going through a lot as a country. Every day we are confronted by death. It's a moment for us to congregate together and to confront this grief.
Yes.
As a collective.
Well, thank you for doing your work through the silent applauses. When no one was watching, you still showed up. You're healing, you're empowering the next generation, and you continue to fly the flag high for South Africa. We see you, and we thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Internationally acclaimed dancer Gregory Maqoma, of course, just reflecting on the journey that was and the journey that is as he continues to impact all of our lives through dance and many more artistic forms. Again, thank you to him for joining us at this hour.